Have you ever had a memory that you were absolutely, undeniably certain of, only to find out that the rest of the world remembers it differently? You remember a movie line that no longer exists. You remember a logo spelled a certain way, but every record shows it has always been spelled another way. You remember a historical event playing out differently than what the textbooks now claim. When this happens, a cold, strange feeling washes over you. You question your own mind. You assume you must simply be remembering it wrong. You let the world convince you that your memory is flawed. I am here to tell you to stop doubting yourself. Your memory is not flawed. You are not misremembering the past. You are simply remembering a past from a timeline you no longer inhabit. Today, we are going to explore the phenomenon known as the Mandela Effect. But we are not going to look at it as a quirky internet mystery or a conspiracy theory. We are going to look at it through the breathtaking lens of quantum mechanics, astrophysics, and the many worlds interpretation. We are going to reveal the profound, optimistic truth hidden inside these reality glitches. By the end of this masterclass, you will understand that the Mandela Effect is not a sign that the world is breaking. It is the absolute scientific proof that the universe is fluid. And more importantly, it is proof that you are actively, successfully jumping timelines. You are not a passenger on a single, fixed train track of reality. You are a dimensional traveler, and these glitches are simply the stamps in your cosmic passport. Let us begin by lifting the veil on how reality actually operates. For centuries, we were taught to believe in a solid, objective universe. We were told that history is written in stone, that the past is unchangeable, and that there is only one true version of reality that everyone shares. This is the Newtonian view of the world, and it is a comfortable, safe illusion. But quantum physics has shattered that illusion. In the quantum realm, the fundamental building blocks of our reality do not behave like solid objects. They behave like waves of infinite probability. The physicist Hugh Everett introduced the many worlds interpretation, which proposes something that sounds like pure science fiction, but solves the mathematical equations of quantum mechanics perfectly. The many worlds theory states that every single time a quantum choice is made, the universe does not simply pick one outcome and discard the rest. Instead, the universe splits. It branches off. Both outcomes occur, but they occur in separate, parallel, physically real timelines. There is a timeline where you turned left, and a timeline where you turned right. There is a timeline where a famous leader died in prison, and a timeline where he was released to become a president. There are infinite variations of Earth, existing right now, superimposed over one another in the quantum field. You do not just live in a universe, you live in a multiverse. Now, how does this relate to the Mandela Effect? And more importantly, how does it relate to your profound ability to manifest your desires? For a long time, physicists believed that these parallel timelines were completely isolated from one another. They believed that once the universe branched, the timelines could never interact. But emerging theories in quantum mechanics, specifically regarding quantum entanglement and the concept of quantum jumping, suggest otherwise. Your consciousness, the very essence of who you are, is not a physical object. It is a localized field of quantum energy. And because your consciousness operates at the quantum level, it is not bound by the rigid laws of 3D space and time. Your consciousness has the ability to slide between these parallel timelines. When you engage in deep manifestation work, when you use the law of assumption, when you change your internal frequency, when you truly embody the identity of the person who has your desired reality, you are not trying to force your current, heavy 3D world to change. You are doing something far more elegant. You are shifting the dial on the cosmic radio. You are tuning your consciousness to the frequency of a parallel timeline where your desire already exists. And when you successfully make that shift, your consciousness jumps into that new reality. But here is where the beautiful glitch occurs. When you shift timelines, The macro details of your life usually remain the same to maintain the stability of your experience. Your name is the same. Your family is the same. The laws of gravity are the same. But the micro details, the tiny, seemingly insignificant data points of the simulation, they might be slightly different in this new timeline. You shifted into a reality where the wealth exists, or the health exists, or the peace exists. But in this specific timeline, perhaps a children's book was spelled with an A instead of an E. Perhaps a famous movie quote used a slightly different word. When you notice these discrepancies, it creates cognitive dissonance. Your brain, which still holds the memory data from the previous timeline, clashes with the physical evidence of your new timeline. You call it the Mandela Effect. Do you see the magnificent implication of this? When you experience a Mandela Effect, it is not a reason for fear. It is a reason for celebration. It is the universe waving a flag, giving you tangible, physical proof that you have moved. It is the absolute validation that your consciousness is fluid and that your internal frequency shifts are working. You have literally moved to a new earth. If you can shift into a timeline where a logo is spelled differently, you can absolutely shift into a timeline where your bank account is full. If your consciousness is powerful enough to jump to a reality with a different history, it is certainly powerful enough to jump to a reality with a different future. The physical world is not a prison. It is a highly responsive, flexible, rendering engine. But to consciously navigate this multiverse, to steer your jumps intentionally rather than randomly, we must understand the mechanics of the shift. We must look at how the observer effect acts as the steering wheel, and how to avoid the trap of becoming entangled with the wrong reality. We have established that the Mandela effect is not a flaw in your memory. It is the physical residue of a timeline shift. You are already a dimensional traveler. You have been jumping across parallel realities your entire life, usually unconsciously, guided by the random fluctuations of your beliefs and emotional states. But unconscious travel is exhausting. It feels chaotic. It feels like you are a small boat being tossed around on a massive, unpredictable ocean. You manifest a beautiful reality one day, and a stressful one the next, wondering why the universe is so inconsistent. The universe is not inconsistent. It is flawlessly obedient. To stop drifting and start navigating, you must put your hands firmly on the steering wheel of the simulation. That steering wheel is called the observer effect. In the realm of quantum physics, the observer effect is the phenomenon where the mere act of observing a quantum system changes its state. Before you look at it, a subatomic particle exists as a wave of infinite potential. It is everywhere and nowhere all at once. The moment you place your attention upon it, that wave of infinite probability collapses into a single, solid point in space and time. Your attention literally forces reality to render. Now, let us scale this up from the microscopic world of the laboratory to the macroscopic world of your life. You are standing in the center of an infinite number of parallel timelines. Every possible version of your future surrounds you right now, existing as waves of pure potential. How do you collapse the wave you want? How do you force the simulation to render the timeline of absolute abundance, deep peace, and perfect health? You do it through the quality of your observation. But here's the vital nuance that most people miss when trying to manifest. Observation is not just looking with your physical eyes. Your physical eyes are merely lenses taking in light. True quantum observation, the kind that collapses reality, is an act of deep, internal resonance. In the quantum field, your dominant emotional state and your core assumptions act as the laser of your observation. The universe does not listen to your words. It does not listen to the affirmations you repeat while your stomach is tied in knots of anxiety. The universe listens to the song you are broadcasting. It listens to your frequency. When you walk through your day feeling a deep, quiet sense of gratitude, assuming that everything is working out in your favor, Your internal frequency acts like a tuning fork. You send a clear, coherent signal out into the space of variations. The timeline that matches that frequency of gratitude, the timeline where you have the wealth, the love, the joy, begins to resonate with you. You entangle with it, you lock onto it, and your consciousness seamlessly shifts into that specific frame of reality. But what happens when you observe the world through the lens of fear, lack, or desperation? What happens when you obsess over the bills you cannot pay, or the text message you haven't received? You are still using the observer effect, but you are using it in reverse. By focusing your intense emotional attention on the absence of your desire, you are telling the quantum field, I am observing lack. The universe, the perfect mirror, flawlessly collapses the wave function of lack, rendering a physical reality where your problems persist. You accidentally lock yourself into the timeline of struggle, simply because that is the timeline you chose to stare at. This is the great paradox of reality shifting. You cannot shift to a new timeline while you are emotionally entangled with the old one. Think of it like watching television. If you are watching a scary movie on Channel 4, and you are terrified, crying, and begging the movie to change, the television cannot respond to your tears. The television is just a monitor displaying the signal it is receiving. To stop the scary movie, you do not fight the screen. You simply pick up the remote control and change the frequency to channel 9. The moment you shift the frequency, the scary movie vanishes, instantly replaced by a beautiful documentary. Your physical 3D world is the television screen. Your internal state of being is the remote control. When you experience something you do not like in your physical reality, you must understand that it is just a broadcast from an old frequency. It is a dead star. The light is reaching your eyes, but the source of the broadcast, your past thoughts, is already gone. To shift timelines, you must master the profound, beautiful art of withdrawing your attention from the unwanted broadcast. You must look at the empty bank account, the stressful situation, or the delay in your manifestation, and you must strip it of all its emotional power over you. You look at it and you say, I see this rendering on my screen, but I know it is just an echo of the past. It is not my truth anymore. You release the tension. You drop the importance. You stop reacting to the illusion, and in that moment of peaceful detachment, you free your consciousness from the old timeline. Then, you turn your internal dial. You close your eyes, you bypass the physical senses, and you completely immerse yourself in the feeling of the reality you desire. You feel the relief. You feel the joy. You feel the absolute, quiet certainty that the new timeline is already yours. When you hold this new frequency, regardless of what the old 3D reality is showing you, a beautiful phenomenon occurs. The old timeline, starved of your emotional energy, begins to dissolve. It unrenders, and the new timeline, fueled by your unwavering focus and elevated emotion, begins to compile. The atoms rearrange, the synchronicities align, and the heavy, physical world gently warps and bends to reflect your new state of being. You have changed the channel, you have executed the quantum leap, but how do we maintain this new frequency? How do we stay anchored in the timeline of our desires when the physical world tests us? We must learn to operate from the ultimate state of mastery. We must enter the Sabbath. When you hear the word Sabbath, you might think of a religious day of rest. But in the true esoteric study of reality creation, the Sabbath is not a day of the week. It is the highest state of human consciousness. The Sabbath is the profound, unshakable, quiet certainty that the work of creation is completely finished. When you shift timelines, when you use the observer effect to collapse the wave of your desired reality, you do not need to keep shifting it over and over again. You do not need to wake up every morning in a panic, wondering if you did the technique right, or if the universe heard you. That anxiety is the frequency of doubt. It is the frequency of the old timeline trying to pull you back. To anchor yourself permanently in the new, beautiful timeline, you must rest. Imagine you are at a restaurant, and you place an order with the waiter for a beautiful meal. Once the order is placed, you do not follow the waiter into the kitchen. You do not stand over the chef, sweating, worrying, and demanding to see the food cooking. You do not doubt that the kitchen exists. You sit at your table. You relax. You enjoy the company of your friends, and you wait with absolute, joyful anticipation. You are completely detached from the process of cooking because your belief in the delivery is a fact. This is the Sabbath state. You have placed your order with the quantum field. The new timeline has been selected. If your only job now is to sit at the table of your life and enjoy the present moment, knowing with total, cold certainty that the reality you selected is currently compiling, rendering, and moving toward you with the unstoppable force of universal law. When the 3D reality tries to test you, when the old echo flares up, or the delay feels too long, you do not react. You stay in the Sabbath. You smile at the illusion, knowing it is powerless against the new code you have written. You are no longer trying to force the mirror to change. You are simply resting in the knowledge that the reflection must follow the source. And as you hold the state of relaxed, absolute knowing, the magic begins to happen. The heavy, sluggish matter of the 3D world finally aligns with the high-speed truth of your quantum shift. The doors fly open. The opportunities arrive. The reality you assumed in the silence of your own mind blossoms into the physical world, often in ways that are so perfectly orchestrated, so beautifully synchronized, that you can only stand in awe of the simulation. And as you navigate this new life, pay close attention. You will start to notice the anomalies. You will remember a conversation that a friend swears never happened. You will see a logo that looks different than it did yesterday. You will experience the sudden, dizzying sensation of a Mandela Effect. When these moments happen, I want you to remember this masterclass. Do not let fear enter your heart. Do not question your sanity. Smile. Smile a deep, knowing smile, because you understand the secret. That strange, unsettling glitch in reality is not a mistake. It is the universe winking at you. It is the physical, undeniable proof that the heavy lifting is done. It is the stamp in your passport, verifying that you have successfully crossed the boundary from the old world into the new. It is the ultimate validation that your internal shifts have physically altered the fabric of the multiverse. You are not a helpless passenger on a random, chaotic ride. You are a dimensional traveler. You are a localized point of infinite consciousness, gifted with the magnificent ability to observe entire worlds into existence. Every thought is a command. Every feeling is a coordinate. Every assumption is a destination. The illusion of a single, unchangeable reality is over. The cage is open. The infinite variations of your life are spread out before you, shimmering with potential, waiting for your selection. Stop fighting the old timeline. Stop reacting to the dead stars of your past. Withdraw your energy from the illusion. Step into the quiet, absolute power of the Sabbath. Assume the state of your highest self. And leap. The new earth is waiting.